Welcome, I'm Rowena Duncombe and I'll be your subject coordinator for WEL118 Human Service Organisations for this new session of study. I think many of you will be new to university studies or certainly new to CSU, so welcome. Let's begin by acknowledging that we are living on Aboriginal land, and in particular I'm coming to you from Turrbal and Jagera land in Brisbane, and the School of Social Work and Human Services in Wagga Wagga is on Wiradjuri land, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and express my gratitude that I do have the privilege of living on these traditional lands. Human service organisations is an introductory subject, but the people studying it themselves come from a wide range of backgrounds. People who are very experienced in human services, people who are very experienced in other fields and bring that knowledge to bear, and people who have come pretty much from school and are setting out on a whole new adventure in life. So we're coming from all over the place here, and together we'll be making a quite colourful team. I know that many of you, most of our students, are working and studying and raising families or involved with families in some way. So online study is something that very brave and courageous and determined people take on, and you need to hold on to that determination, because whilst it's incredibly satisfying and can get you where you want to go, or to somewhere much more surprising than where you think you want to go, it's not an easy road. And I know that from my own experience doing online study with two small children and working, so don't think I don't understand. I'm just fortunate to be on the other side of the hill. So I'll be doing my best to support you, and there's a number of ways that I do that. I'll be on our subject site on the discussion board a lot of the time, and very, very easily accessible there. There's over 180 of us in the subject, so I can't answer individual emails from everybody about how does this bit of referencing work, did I understand this properly, am I going about this assignment the right way if I do this, that or the other. So instead I answer all of those questions on the discussion board, and that way every time I answer a query everybody can see what my answer to that has been. So when you pop a question up there, put a subject line on your question that is as informing as you possibly can. So something like a question about the assessment, it doesn't tell us too much, it doesn't tell us very much at all. So what you really need to say is a question about referencing. That's much more helpful. Or a question about political influences on HSOs, something more specific about the topic we're on. And I'll answer all of those there. For personal issues, extensions or worries or personal stresses that you're having, please do contact me directly by email or phone. I work Monday to Wednesday, so they're the best days to catch me. You may get lucky at other times, but Monday to Wednesday are the best for me. So, human service organisations, it's a big field and it's getting bigger. Up until the 1970s, most human services were delivered by governments, but since the 1980s there's been a significant shift away from government provision. Still some major government providers. Child protection there's still a lot, even in child protection, a lot of that's gone to private providers now too, but there's still a lot of government provision through child protection. The prison system is sort of a crossover into human services. Actually, I think it is human services. Health is another big one. Government still does, and obviously Centrelink. So there are big government organisations still delivering human services, but they tend to contract out a lot of stuff to non-government organisations now, and they're much more likely to use a business model, in inverted commas, to deliver services than a social model, which is what they were doing historically. So massive changes in this sector, and those of you working in it will be familiar with the implications of those changes. There are effects political, economic and social, on the way organisations function, and we'll be looking at how those things work, political pressures on governments, economic pressures on governments. Watch during the session what's going on politically. So television shows like The Drum or Q&A on the ABC often discuss the sorts of issues that we're interested in, whether from an economic, political or social perspective. So they'll be really handy to keep an eye on, so that you understand the sorts of things that are driving changes in policy, changes in practice. The subject will introduce newcomers to the field, get you oriented to the sector you're going to be working in. And for people who have been in the field already for some time, what we would be hoping was that it gives you the opportunity to think about it in a different way, to think about it a bit more critically than you would get time to usually at work, and to reflect on both the sector itself and your participation in the sector, how the way your organisation functions and the implications of that for you. So thinking about things like ethics and values, as well as things like skills and knowledge for how you practice in the sector. So quite a bit in there. On the front page, on the welcome page of our subject site, you'll see a link to an orientation to the subject site. You're going to need to get to know both CSU site and the subject site for our subject. University websites are massive and complicated, and I have never spoken to a colleague from another university who said, oh, our site is a dream, it's so easy to negotiate and it makes so much sense. No one ever said that. Every university colleague I've spoken to says, no, ours is just diabolical. So if you get a bit frustrated and despondent when you're trying to get oriented to the CSU site and perhaps even our subject site, just put a little bit of that fretting to one side and remind yourself that this unfortunately is a normal process and you'll gradually get better at it as you go. I find that there's still things that, trip me up on a regular basis, so it's part of the journey, unfortunately, of online study. But our subject site is really important to get your head around that. The crucial things are that discussion board I was referring to. There'll be a lot of what we call threads or topics on the discussion board, and you'll be able to choose the thread that you're interested in to find out about, ask questions and talk about whatever it is you're paying attention to at the site. Comments from other students are sometimes really brilliant, because people are working in a particular field, say like the disability sector, and they know things that obviously I don't, and sometimes they put up great stuff. So feel free to interact with each other as much as you like. I am not the font of all knowledge about this subject. I certainly had a big hand in writing it, and clearly I'm here to present it, and I'll be marking some of the subjects, but I've only ever worked in the health sector, and I work with homeless people in a voluntary way now. But there's lots of parts of the sector that I don't have first-hand knowledge of, so just go for it with each other. I'll be on the discussion board. We'll have online classrooms. There'll be 4 of those for the session, 1 for each of the modules that we look at, and each of the assessment items will be discussed in one of those online classrooms too. Never possible to get a time and day that suits everybody, so they're all recorded. There are pre-recorded ones from last year sitting on the site now, so for those people who need to work ahead to balance their commitments, you can access the ones that I did last year. And as soon as I've done the new one for this year, I'll pop the new one up and last year's one will disappear. So you can work ahead if you need to. That's absolutely fine. What else do you have as a resource? Obviously the resources in the subject material, there's links to things in the library there. There's the librarian will be present for us and helping you. She'll do a session with us on one of those online classrooms. We may have teleconferences. I'm not sure how we'll go with that, but may have some teleconferences as well. So there's a variety of strategies I have that I can use to give you as much support as possible. including for those of you who happen to live in Brisbane or northern New South Wales. I'm happy to have a catch-up, a physical face-to-face catch-up. In Brisbane we usually meet in West End, in northern New South Wales we usually meet in Byron. Depending on how many people are interested, I'm happy to do that catch-up for a coffee or a nibble or something. So welcome to WEL118, Human Service Organisations. I hope that it's really interesting for you. I hope you get a lot out of it, and be sure to use my support. Let me know if things are, if your world is falling apart, let me know as soon as possible, and I'll do my best to advocate for you within the university system. Okay, so see you on the discussion board. Take care.